Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to come and speak to you all. As I've heard from David Daniels, who invited me, um, and having come to this group before, the values and what this group is all about is something that deeply resonates with me because being a man, being a father, and specifically a single dad, this is something obviously that runs deep. And so I always want to be better man, better brother, better uncle, better cousin, you know. So having this opportunity to come here today is really like an honor for me. And so David has mentioned, my name is Peter Edwards. I met him. He was speaking at it was a resilience, something about how to become resilient. He was speaking at that seminar, and it was at that seminar that I also actually changed my life. And I decided, you know what, I want to do more. Just like I heard one of you mention today that, keep searching for the inner person, the real you. And so that's how it began with me. And so even though I am a songwriter, singer, author, I recently wrote a book, and I've actually just recently finished collaborating on another book, and I'm a marathon runner. Those are just titles. The most important thing, I think, to me is actually being my self-image, the image that I have of myself. That is something that I'd like to maybe talk about today. What is your image? What's my image? How do I view myself? Because somebody once said that the strongest force in the human personality is the need to be consistent with how we identify ourselves. That's actually so true. Let me just maybe say it again. Strongest force in the human personality need to stay consistent to how we view ourselves. And if you look at it, say Kieran, if he views himself as a winner, he's someone that always, he knows that I'm an achiever. I'm going to go for something, no matter what happens. If that's the image he has of himself, even if life throws whatever at him, any kind of problems, he will always find a way, some kind of solution around it, because he knows he can be successful. He's a winner. Now, and if I maybe identify myself as, I'm a loser, some stuff is just way above my head. I'm not really an achiever. Because of having that low self-esteem, I will then always be an underachiever. I'll never really have success in my life. And so that's how, as I said, when I heard David speak at that seminar, and he had just written his book called Shine and Speaks. And he was speaking about how he had overcome certain things and how he had become now this different person, an inspirational person. And then I realized that, you know what, our identities, we've all got identities, and that we always depends now on how the identity we have, of course. Because if you don't create an identity for yourself, somebody will create that identity for yourself. Somebody will label you or stereotype you. And then if you follow that identity, you just going with the flow. But we can actually create our own identities. And so from then on, I decided, I really want to create my own identity. And so I'll just give you a personal experience of how I then changed. An identity of mine actually changed. For example, when I was growing up, I never used to do much sports. Part of the reason was the doctors, I had a heart condition. So the doctors always said that I wasn't actually meant to physically exert myself. And also the religion I was part of didn't encourage us to get involved in sports. So I just never considered myself as a sporty kind of person. However, I always admired my cousin who was a marathon runner. I used to love watching marathons. Like when they showed the London Marathon and all these marathons, half marathons on TV, how lots of people always watch them. So I'd always be watching them, and I wish that I could also do it, because it's like human endurance. And I think, But I thought, I can't do that. And then it was with the birth of my youngest daughter. She was born prematurely. And I just thought, you know what? And having listened to that sermon, I'm thinking, a person can actually change. Maybe what is there that's, this identity that I have of myself as not being a runner or something. Is it true? It's just maybe something just because the doctor said it a while ago. I don't have this heart condition anymore. So what if I actually try and do something? Maybe I can actually run for charity and just push myself. So I just, without thinking much, I signed up for a 10K charity run. That's when I realized, oh my goodness, 10K is quite a distance. But then I started trying to train for that. The first time, the first mile I ran, I probably stopped like 4 times. I thought, okay, I really can't do this, but I just kept on because I really wanted to do it. And in the end, I trained park runs. I used to go to the park runs on Saturdays. Started joining up with runners, making friends with other runners, even joining a running club. Then I identified myself now as a runner. I was no longer, when people used to see me running before, they'd say, "We saw you running." I said, "Yeah, no, I'm training for this charity event." But all of a sudden, I am a runner. Yes, I'm a runner, And so because of changing that, I started doing 5Ks, 10Ks, 10 miles. All of a sudden, I started doing half marathons. And this year, I've already done 2 full marathons. I just done the last one was a few weeks ago in Manchester. And I was someone that the doctors said probably didn't live to be more than 40 years. And obviously that's not true. So I'm over 40. And look, I can now run more than a mile, over 26 miles, and I can probably even go further. So it just shows us that our identity is something that we can always recreate. And I just like it. I think it was Jeff, I think that said, or Roland. He said working for like a corporate environment and working for all these different organizations has made him see that, you know what, that's not him, there's something more. And I think this is what this group, Men in the Middle, is also all about. It's about us, men, fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, trying to be more than what we really are right now. We're not just complacent, because the society does put stigmas or stereotypes on us, like men. Or sometimes people will say things about men like, oh, just waste man or whatever, useless. But groups like this are important because it's men thinking, you know what, we are, no matter what we've achieved, all of us here have achieved certain things in our lives, but we're not just content to sit down and like happy with, yeah, I've done this now, so we're relaxing. But we keep moving forward. Can't become complacent because we know that um, a life without a purpose, it's just like having a bicycle and the bicycle that's not moving. The bicycle fall down if it's not, if it's not moving. So our lives, we just got to keep on moving, keep on trying to become better persons. Like what people like to say is better versions of ourselves. And so having a space like this, like Men in the Middle, where people, like-minded people, come together, encourage one another, and everyone's doing their own thing. And like some of you went to college, went for learning certain new skills. Just shows that our identities keep on evolving. So for me, as a person, having now run all these marathons, I'm not going to stop myself. Now I've done that. No, what I do now is I've also, as a musician, as a singer, thinking of ways of becoming even better. Because what I've also learned is that when the self-image that we have of ourselves is something that we cannot actually um, overtake or overachieve above the image that we have. So if we've got, say, a low self-image, we will achieve average results. And If it's high, we will either get to that high level, but never over it. So it's always important that we set very high standards for ourselves. Now, society and people and, the way we were raised off, obviously, it's difficult to think like that because people will say, oh, you mustn't think too highly of yourselves. And like in South Africa, there's where I'm from, there's a word in Afrikaans, a phrase that says "Moenie baie aan yourself dinkie," which is which means don't think too much of yourself. And it's not a compliment when you say that. It's like you bragging, you conceited, but it's not being conceited when we think, when you put high standards for ourselves, or we have a high self, or we have a high self-image, because we've got to set high standards for ourselves if we want to be better fathers, better brothers, better individuals, better members of society. So one of the ways, as we said, is joining groups like this, associating together. I mean, like this, and also um, maybe sometimes it could be finding mentors, coaches, because people actually are surprised that I belong to a running group and I actually pay an annual subscription. I mean, an annual subscription for this running group. So what? You pay to run? Why do you pay to run? I want to pay to run. And these are the people that they ask me. They constantly come to me and say, what, we want to start running too. How do you get running? How do you start running? And I say, okay, come, we can go together. I mean, we'll run a few times then, and come join this running club, because it's at this running club you find people who will encourage you, people will motivate you, and they'll teach you certain techniques, how to run better. And they'll be like, no way, I'm not going to pay. And it's just like, even though that yearly subscription costs less than a night out in town, but they're like, no way. But it's because some people are just not keen on investing in themselves. And so if we don't invest in ourselves, it's we won't be able to improve our self-image. And it's definitely one of the things we can do, investing in ourselves, joining groups, hanging out with people, like-minded individuals. Because they say, obviously, network is your net worth. If you hang around with average people, you're just going to achieve average results. So it's also important that we question the identity that we have of ourselves as well. Because even though we can give ourselves this self-identity, sometimes we've got to then ask ourselves, is this really true? Is this the limit? This identity that I have right now, is it maybe as a result of old belief or limited belief, or being influenced by other people's perceptions? And other people's perceptions of us, they could always be wrong, because it's just their perceptions. It's the way they see us, and it's based on their limited view of us as well. So, I was so interested when before this started, when everyone was talking about how they constantly re-examining themselves and pushing themselves for more, because this is exactly what we should be doing. Question ourselves, push ourselves more. It's not like we and obviously for some people they want to be in comfort zones. They don't want to do anything uncomfortable. They just want to with the flow. But you know what, like what they say, people that go with the flow, or what goes with the flow, is just dead fish. But we want to move forward, and comfortable action. Comfortable action is the stuff that's going to make us recreate our self-image, identity. That's why running, that was something that took me out of my comfort zone. I decided to know how to run, but then going out of that comfort zone made me a marathon runner. Meeting David, who had written his book Simon Speaks, and I was like, I don't think I can never write a book. Well, where do you start writing a book? Then all of a sudden, I was so inspired, because and his story was something that resonated with me as well, because being an introvert, then I then realized, you know what, I do have a story to tell as well. There's so much that has happened in my life. growing up in South Africa, there's some adversities I faced, and there's some um, positive things I faced as well. And I'd like to share those things. And that's why I wrote a book. It's called Get Some of That. And I got published last year, September. And this week, I'm happy to say I was involved in another collaboration with ladies. One's called Sharon Van Beek and Colette Andrew. So we worked on a collaboration of a book called Diamond Diaries. Together We Rise, and it's all about stories on how we can, all of us have like personally experienced certain things in our lives, and how these stories can inspire and motivate other people. So someone that's never been an author, all of a sudden I'm now got two books going out, and I I'm a person that came over here. I said, you know what, I'm single dad, as I said earlier on. I could have just said, that's it. I'm going to be a single father. Life's hard, I'm just going to go with the flow like this. But no way I don't. I'm going to set an example for my children. Some of my dreams, my dream is music. I still love music. I know I should actually push more, but I still love creating music. And some of my songs were played on BBC Radio Suffolk. Quite a few of them were played on BBC Radio Suffolk. And that's when people were even saying to me, yeah, your song's got nice melody, nice rhythm, but you have got a bit of an accent. So maybe your music might not even get played, but they got played on BBC Radio and some other stations in Africa. Some of the songs got played there. So it shows that our identity is something that we keep on changing. We can keep on achieving, and nothing can stop us. We can't allow other people to predict our identity or where we're going to go. It's only we ourselves can take us to where we want to be. And it's so important that we create the right identity for ourselves. And don't let anybody say you think too highly of yourself or you're conceited. No, standards for ourselves. Right? It's so important. Now, saying conclusion, I want to ask everyone here, what is your identity? How do you identify yourself? What's the self-image you have for yourself? And and think of other ways maybe that you can achieve that identity that you have for yourself. Because, as we said, the strongest force in the human being is to be consistent with that identity. So, what identity? How are we going to get there? I said, I hang around with runners, and they encourage me to keep running. Sometimes there are days when I don't feel like running. I was like, it's too cold. It's raining. They'll say, Peter, we're running. We're meeting at this time. We plan. We're going. And so I have to. And I said also meet friends or authors. And that's why we've done this book collaboration. And because if it wasn't for people like that, hanging around with those kind of people, or going out of my comfort zone and meeting around certain people, or paying for certain things to coaches and mentors, I would probably still be stagnant and not doing anything. So what are you personally going to do to the next level, to be that better person? So when you look in the mirror and you see, I am that better person, I'm that better uncle, mother, man, we want to be. So thank you once again, everybody, and thank you, David, for having given me this opportunity, and everybody for your for having listened. Hopefully, might have touched a few of you.